Recording.
I wanted more time. Yeah.
Town council to order, and will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Krista Camp.
Here.
Councilmember John Hagenow. Councilmember Carol Kerr.
Here.
Councilmember Aaron Parmet. Councilmember Dan Sullivan.
Here.
Mayor Ken Riley.
Here.
4 members are present.
Thank you. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Fantastic.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is the approval of the agenda. Anyone like to remove something from the agenda, or can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Councilmember Sullivan.
I move to approve the agenda as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. We now have communications to council. If anyone would like to speak to council, now is the opportunity. So if you're online, please raise your hand, which I don't see anyone, and there's no one in the audience. Last chance for online. The only one might be Drew Nelson, our soon-to-be employed. No one? In that case, communications to council is closed. We move on to the consent agenda. And can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda or to remove something from it?
Yeah, I moved. So moved
To approve.
to approve.
Move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. The next item is the second reading of
I'm so sorry.
ordinance 2026-0-04. And will the clerk please read the title into the record?
Ordinance 2026-004, an ordinance of Town Council of the Town of Keystone, Colorado, adopting by reference the 2025 Colorado Wildfire Resiliency Code and adopting penalties for violations.
I declare the public hearing open, and procedures are fairly simple. We'll first ask the town manager to give us a rundown on the ordinance and with their recommendations. Council will then have an opportunity to ask questions. After the questions, council will again have an opportunity to ask questions. And then the public hearing will be closed and we'll deliberate and make a decision. At this point, Mr. Town Manager, over to you.
Okay, this is the state mandated Colorado Wildfire Resiliency Code. As we discussed at workshop, this code deals with the hardening of structural builds, kind of a building, works as a building code in that way, requiring fireproof siding, fireproof decking, hardening the structures against wildfire. And the code also details with wildfire mitigation, kind of the maintenance of the property around the built structures. This will be enforced duly through the building services and through the fire department. As I said, this is a state mandated code. We are required to adopt this code. The original date was April 1st, but we had to have the code adopted by July 1st and enforceable before we were subject to any penalties. And now I believe it sounded like they pushed it off till the end of July, that actual enforcement is required of the code. As you know, we've had how many discussions just this year alone about wildfires. This is a practical code that has not had a lot of pushback from builders or realtors or any of the interest groups that might have something associated with it. Are there any questions?
Mr. Sullivan.
It said the code and penalties, and I guess that we didn't see any penalties anywhere. Or what define? Do we have to approve those?
I'll defer to our town attorney on that. I think.
Let me just,
And is that? And that I assume that would be required.
well,
also.
any penalties really also would be governed by our general penalty ordinance. So the maximum penalty is $26.50 for any violation.
So it's not specific. I was thinking the state probably had penalty.
No, the state does not have any penalties.
So we don't need, in our document, there were no penalties, and I just didn't know.
Yeah.
It wasn't pointing to anything, so I didn't know what we were approving.
Yes, there are no penalties in the ordinance. I'm trying to get to the ordinance and it keeps going to the staff report. So it's probably at the back of the staff report. Yes. But so it would just be the general penalties of $26.50.
Okay, is that the way it's going to be written? So the code is required, but then the penalties can be set by the town.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
But the enforcement is a matter of the attention of the fire department?
And
And
the
the
building
building.
department.
Okay, and then they all refer it back to us to
Right.
say they won't comply?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, if somebody starts building a property, this really only applies generally to new properties, new development. If they start building and they're not complying, then there's stop work order process.
Okay,
And then if there's a violation of the stop work order, you can go through a municipal court process for violations of the stop work order and violations of the building code. Okay.
And just to be stupid about this, we could say, okay, it's $1.
Yes,
Okay.
but I mean, if you think about it, if it's a construction of a large structure, you know, the threat of a $26.50 a day is a good threat.
All right. No, I understand. I want to understand where the penalties are. That's fine.
Any other questions?
Another, it's not a financial penalty, but they can be forced to comply. So if they build a non-compliant structure, they can be forced to take it down, issues like that.
Okay. Thank you.
And it sounds like that's more of a threat than any dollar penalties associated with this. Any other comments? In that case, I'll now open the meeting to public comment. And if anyone would like to provide a comment on this ordinance, will you please step forward to the podium or raise your hand online? No one has raised their hand online, I assume. There's no one in the audience. Therefore, the public comment period associated with this hearing is closed. Does council have any additional questions for staff? In that case, I'll declare the public hearing closed and open this up for deliberation.
the fact that it is mandated.
Why?
It made me wonder, wait, why are we even addressing this? But I understand we I understand now. And what I want to do is make a quote from the legislation that is to say unrestricted use of property in wildland urban interface where we live is a potential threat to life and property from fire and resulting erosion. So it seems to be clearly in the common good.
And if you look at the town of Keystone, and referencing the comprehensive plan, which we'll be looking at later in this meeting, the town is anything on this side of Highway 6 is a high fire risk. Anything on that side of Highway 6 is a moderate fire risk. So our town has significant fire risk associated and anything. So I'm very supportive of this type of a change. This is one case where I'm supportive of the state's legislation, unlike normally. But also, it's something that I think the town would have probably been considering anyway, even if the state hadn't mandated. So, then can I have a motion?
Sure.
Yep.
I move to approve ordinance 2022-26004. An ordinance of the town council of the town of Keystone, Colorado, adopting by reference a 2025 Colorado wildfire resilience code and adopting penalties for violation.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion or debate? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll for the vote?
Councilmember Christie Camp,
Yes.
Councilmember Carol Kerr,
Approved.
Councilmember Dan Sullivan,
Approved.
Mayor Ken Riley,
Approved.
4 yeses.
Ordinance is passed. The next item is ordinance 2026-0-05, an ordinance of the town council of the town of Keystone, Colorado, amending ordinance number 2024-0-08, the town of Keystone Land Use Code to revise call-out procedures for Class 2 and Class 4 development review applications. Now turn it over to the town manager.
And I'm going to turn this immediately over to our town planner, Jessica Hertzberg, with help from our town attorney here. And I will be right back because I need power.
So following the discussion in the last meeting about Class 2 and Class 4 development review applications, this ordinance proposes an amendment to the code for Class 2 and Class 4 by removing the requirement for the administrative approvals to be included in council consent agenda materials and prepared as such. So the attached ordinance is the proposed amendments to these sections of the code.
Could you please go over what a Class 2 or a Class 4 and a Class 6 development application is, or what they are?
2 and 4.
Is it 2 and 4? 2 and 4. Sorry.
Class 2 are reviews on overall more minor land use related applications. They are reviewed by staff and approved by staff, and they follow a set of criteria in order to be approved. Class 4 are similar. They are a little bit larger in scale in terms of the project. They follow a set of criteria for approval, but they are reviewed and approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Am I correct that the notification to council would remain as it is today, that anytime either staff or the planning commission is approved a 2 or 4, the council would be notified of that, and the council would still have council members would still have an opportunity at the next council meeting to, during planning matters, to ask for the council to consider calling up that item.
Yes.
So we're not giving away any ability to call an item up. It's just a matter of whether the staff spends the time to put the item on the agenda and then put the package together.
Right.
All right. Any Councilmember Kerr?
2 questions. What guides whether something is a class 2 or not? For example, there's a big difference between approving a sign and approving an ADU, but they're both class 2. What determines that? Is that Colorado state law? Is that a decision that was made by the county?
It is how the county classified different applications and how we adopted that code by reference.
So we have the opportunity when we relook code to relook the distinctions among them.
Yes.
Okay. I forget my second question. It'll come back to me. Okay, I have it. Explain call up. Our discussions earlier and other meetings have been that it's not really up to the council to relitigate a decision because the decision is based on objective criteria. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. So if we were to call something up, what are we deciding to do? What does that mean?
Calling up, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is initiating a vote on whether to appeal the decision that was made.
Even if we do not have an appeal from whoever it was that.
Yes.
And when we give a decision to any kind of applicant, we clarify that if you don't like this decision, you can appeal. So a call up is I don't care about his rights. If he didn't use them or they didn't use them, we will. Is that essentially what it is?
Yeah.
That we're going to consider an appeal that nobody asked for?
Or a back channel appeal. You could get
A community member
a
talking.
community member asking you to call this up rather than having to go through the steps and expense of appealing themselves.
But we have retained that right. I just never understood what's the point if it's.
So
Because we would then, by law, in the quasi judicial function that we would be performing at that point, we would be using the same criteria that either the planning commission or the staff used. So either new information would have had to have come to light or.
I mean, it's not really new information because it's an appeal.
Yeah.
So it's a relook by.
Possibly because it's a contentious issue?
Yeah, because it's a
Okay.
contentious issue. I would say with class 2, it would probably be very difficult for you to reach a different decision on a class 2 because a class 2 is an administrative approval. And really it's going to be like a check the box type application and a check the box approval. A class 4 likely has a little bit more subjective criteria. And so there's more discretion potentially in the class 4 approval. And, it just depends on that class 4 approval criteria. I haven't looked at it closely, but I would say that is probably true, that there is more subjectivity. And so it could be just a matter of you would disagree with how the Planning and Zoning Commission applied that criteria to the facts.
Okay. I went back and looked at the charter and it seems like if the Planning and Zoning Commission has the power, has the authority to make these decisions, right? Is that true everywhere? Because I'm aware of some places where the Planning and Zoning Commission will specifically say at a public hearing, our role is to make a recommendation to council. Is that
It depends, every
depends.
jurisdiction's.
Okay, I just didn't know if I was misunderstanding.
And it also depends on the item that's
Mhm.
going before the Planning and Zoning Commission. In some cases, the Planning and Zoning Commission doesn't have the authority to make the decision, but they are a recommendation body to the council.
Okay, can you say offhand? Sorry for my voice, that they're, what sort of things they would simply make a recommendation as opposed to a final decision?
I think those.
I don't mean to put you on the spot. If you can think of something,
I think
like a major development.
6.
class 5 and 6, yeah, zoning amendments.
Which is not what we're talking about. We're only talking about, okay. Thank you.
None of what we're talking about.
Okay. Okay. It sounds like we're not losing our ability to relook things or to at least better understand the decision that has been made. We're just changing the process. Is that accurate?
In fact, I'd like to say it kind of focuses it a bit more, because let's say council and planning commission would have come to different decisions based upon the criteria and the facts. In a case like that, the case is probably just kind of right on the edge. So it's not a huge divergence, but this gives you, if something draws your attention, it focuses on what really matters, which is, are the criteria wrong? Issues like that, which need to be addressed on more than just a case-by-case basis, but you might identify it through the things you get in planning matters. It's brought up not so much this specific case, but all cases like this, is this the correct criteria?
Okay.
Any other questions, staff? Then can I have a motion?
I move that we approve ordinance 2026-0-05, an ordinance of the Town of Council of the Town of Keystone, Colorado, amending ordinance 2024-0-08, the Town of Keystone Land Use Code, to revise the call-up procedures for Class 2 and Class 4 development review applications.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question, and will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Carol Kerr,
Approve.
Councilmember Dan Sullivan,
Approve.
Mayor Ken Riley,
Approve.
Councilmember Christy Camp.
Approve.
Or approved.
First reading has passed. The next item is resolution of 2026-12, ratification of the comprehensive plan. Now turn it over to the town manager.
And I will gladly turn this over to the town planner, Jessica Hertzman.
So as a newly incorporated home rule municipality, the town of Keystone is tasked with establishing a comprehensive plan that guides future land use growth and development. And as the 2026 comprehensive plan that you have seen is our first document that achieves the master planning goals and visions for the town of Keystone. This is an advisory document in nature. And on April 16th, the Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing and voted to adopt the comprehensive plan by resolution. What is before you now is the opportunity for town council to ratify the Planning and Zoning Commission's decision to adopt the plan and affirm its role as an advisory document that guides the town's actions. The Planning and Zoning Commission found that the plan satisfied all of state laws in its development and its final product, and that it also extensively engaged the community in its development process. And as a result, felt that it not only met the statutory requirements, but also that it includes a good picture of the vision that the town of Keystone has for its future.
Interesting.
Any questions of staff?
Sorry,
No, go.
would there be an opportunity to change if, there were new situations or opportunities? Would there be a way to adopt expanding this?
In general, we want to address this every 10 years at a minimum. Often they address more, but there's no limit on how soon you can amend a comprehensive plan.
It's not,
No, and this is an advisory document. So in the future, if there's something in there that we disagree with, we don't do it.
So what do? We just admit or acknowledge that this was recommended by the plan, but here's why we're not going to. Okay. Good.
And it also sets the basis for any grant applications that we may have, because every grant application that's going up to DOLA is going to ask for a reference back into your comprehensive plan for how that fits in with accounts going in the future.
Okay.
So it gives us, that's why, well, as I read the plan a couple of times this weekend and read the housing needs assessment, as you look at this plan, there are items in here that we probably won't get to in the next 5 years or 10 years. But it lays the basis for us to address them if we desire to, and also lays the foundation to be able to get, to reference it for grant money support. Is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely. And it absolutely, going back to your advisory level of this, the thing I like to point out is our current comprehensive plan that we are following. If you read it, you'll see my name on the front page, because in 2008, I was a planning commissioner for the Snake River District. And that plan it still serves its purpose 18 years down the line, even though there's a lot of stuff in there that just doesn't make sense anymore.
And this will also form a foundation as we go back and address our planning code with some, because there are recommendations in this plan that we should be considering as we make those changes. And we'll use it in that manner, and I'm sure the Planning Commission also uses it in that manner as well. Councilman Sullivan.
I just didn't want to go by without saying thank you to the hundreds of people who contributed to this. People that live here full time, visitors, and of course the council and the staff and the consulting firms that helped us pull this together. It was a multi-month project. Multi-month. A lot of revisions, a lot of great thought went into it. I'm excited about what it points to, what our town, where we can go. And this is, I think, a fabulous document to start with.
Here, here.
And way to go, Lindsay.
And Jess.
And Jess.
It's this.
And I think it's fair to note that RTEP was a great foundation that kicked us off well for this whole process.
Well, the RTA grant and work that did really served as a jumping off point for this. And when you look at the amount of community involvement we had in developing this, or the team had in developing this, particularly the community comment, I think we had 274 survey responses, which, considering the size of our town, is really a lot. And as I participated in some of the working groups that gave input, a lot of very spirited of residents, non-residents, and second homeowners all played. And I think this plan is reflective of that.
Short of sounding like we're patting ourselves on the back, I'd like to point out that even if somebody did not engage in any of these many engagement opportunities, I think it was clear to the community that we cared and wanted to hear from them. Having said all that, so I engaged in the revision piece. There was a part on the several parts in the connectivity piece that I had reservations about. They did not satisfy my reservations, but they expanded the details so that when we get to the point of discussing, we'll have better criteria and data to use. So I appreciate that. Hey, John, so if we were Congress and we were presented with a tariff or a tree, more likely, that might be something the administration already negotiated with another country, and it comes to the Congress to ratify it. I understand that the planning and zoning has approved it. What does ratify? What are we doing when we ratify it? Are we saying yay verily or what?
And I'll defer to our attorney, but yeah, we're saying yay verily. I think if you don't ratify it, God, what would happen? They would go back.
Actually, the state statute talks about adoption of a comprehensive plan. And under state statute, the Planning and Zoning Commission is tasked with adoption of a planning and zoning, of a master plan, your comprehensive plan.
Okay. So it's done.
It's done, yes. However, in the communities that I work with and in other communities, it's looked as an important step that the governing body, town council, board of trustees, has an opportunity to review it and look at it and say, yes, we're pleased with this document.
Okay.
So that's really how I see a ratification.
Okay. So going back to the email I sent you, which I think you misunderstood, I wasn't sure if the one that was in our packet or on our email is the same one that's on the website. It's not. So
The one Maddie sent out on Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is the accurate one. Let's replace whatever that draft on the website.
Yes.
Okay.
Once everything's finalized, the final version will be put up and make
Okay.
clear that it's the final version.
And
So you've given us a chance to review, acknowledge, and say, yay, verily.
if I can kind of go back and build on what our attorney said a little bit, if the council didn't ratify it, it would be a very interesting planning and zoning commission
Well, it would be in some.
that didn't choose to readdress it and make changes and adopt an amended. You guys determine the membership of the Planning and Zoning Commission. You can kick people off the Planning and Zoning Commission. You can appoint new people to the Planning and Zoning Commission. So the ratification it's a really important step, just showing that Council and Planning and Zoning Commission are a cohesive part of the entire team.
If I can return to Councilmember Camp's good question. Should something develop that's potent, I don't know what that might be, can we make an amendment, 3 years from now, short of revamping the entire thing in 10 years?
Yeah, I think it's a single issue, but they could make a small change and just adopt.
A single amendment.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But it would also be a planning and zoning. And
Sure, yeah.
And even something like that, there are specific statutory regulations possibly on how to go forward. So
while we're acknowledging work that others have done, and Dan, that was masterful. Thank you for thinking of that. I would like to recognize the Planning and Zoning Commission that does a lot of hard thinking and analysis.
Can I have a motion?
I move to ratify 2026-12, ratifying planning and zoning Commission's approval of the Town of Keystone's 2026 comprehensive plan.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried.
We have a yes.
We're now ahead of schedule by about an hour.
We get to replace the John Crone plan with a John Crone plan.
Yeah.
The next item is Resolution 2026-13, ratification of an amendment to the child care IGA, and I'll turn it over to the town manager.
Okay, and well, a few things. I apologize. The IGA didn't get included in the packet. We have to make sure, we were so stressed about getting the comp plan in the packet, which did not fit in the email, that we missed the amendment to the IGA. It's an interesting situation here. So back in 2025, we entered into an agreement, which we approved entering into in October of 24, to provide assistance for early childhood options first steps. That's tuition assistance for the youngest kids in daycare for income qualified families. Under that agreement, we were obligated to provide $68,884.50 for the 2024-25 funding cycle. And the agreement called for annual adjustments. Well, this year, due to cuts in federal and state funding, this was paid for out of the nicotine tax dollars. Lawyer said that was okay.
It's good we asked.
This year, due to just cuts in federal and state funding, it became an issue, well, and other issues, including the Strong Futures going up for reauthorization. And Strong Futures, their early childhood options aspect of that had a significant fund balance. The managers got together and discussed this and came to a situation, all the other towns in the county approved it, where this year the county is picking up the entirety of the early childhood options first steps program, relieving all the towns who are subject to the IGA from making any payments whatsoever towards early childhood options. County won that done as an amendment, so they put out an amendment to the IGA for the 2025-26 school year, showing that the county would provide the entirety of the funding and there was no financial obligations on the town. Okay, so to me, this is a no-brainer. It's an amendment to an IGA that I did not have any doubt that anyone on the council would support this IGA. There was a little bit of a reason to sign it. We were the last by a while on the county to be able to get going with this program. The main reason I did it this way is to just introduce the concept of ratification on the town council level to you and things like this, because there will be issues. And I'm thinking more so in, say, council approved contracts for major things, for sidewalks, roads, where there might be an issue that comes up where the contract has to be amended. And we really can't wait 2 weeks, stop all work until the council meets and approves an amendment that they would clearly approve. So that's why I brought this forward, is an idea that occasionally, very, very, very occasionally, there are going to be issues like this where I feel that it's okay to go forward with the program and ask for approval after the fact. If you choose not to ratify something like this, this is not like the comp plan. Despite the fact that it's signed, this is like the treaty. If the council does not ratify a decision like this, the treaty is revoked. If the council does not ratify it, the amendment to the IGA is revoked. It's you're repudiating the mayor's signature on this IGA.
The manager came to me with this, and as he knows now, I had a lot of questions about why in the world should I be signing this now? We have a council meeting in another week. And out of that discussion, there was concern of the county being able to go forward in an expeditious manner to be able to distribute the Strong Futures funding for the child care programs. And after hearing that in a discussion with the town attorney, I recognize that, yes, this is something that required expeditious handling. I felt, as town manager did, there was no need, that there was going to be no objection from the council since we weren't committing the town to anything new. All we were doing is basically getting rid of an obligation that we would have had this year. So I agreed to sign the amendment. But normally, this is not something that I take on lightly to approve prior to going to council.
I think we appreciate the care with which you would approach this. Thank you.
Yeah, it was several discussions, as I remember, with the town manager. Was why in the world do I need to do this? Why can't we wait?
And there would be cost to the families waiting, but it's not like I said, it's definitely worth moving forward as quickly as we can to help these people out. There's not a big cushion, especially given the business climate of this year and lack of work, less pay, less money coming in, as we've discussed. And as I said, I can't fathom why there might be a valid reason. I just could not think of a valid reason to oppose this.
Yeah, a couple of thoughts. Number one, I think this one is very legitimate, makes sense. I don't think you will have a problem.
Yeah.
I guess at some point in the future, we ought to probably, not now, but at a work session, talk about where you have that discretion, especially when there's monetary issues involved, and how we, if there's a better process, then you hope that we'll approve it, because you may have had to commit the money and spent it.
Well, and as I said, I didn't just do this in a vacuum. There were significant discussions with the mayor and the town attorney, but there will be situations where, and I go right back to like the road construction. We can't leave a road with a gaping hole in it because we need $4,000 more road fill than we thought.
But your point is well taken.
Yeah.
My point is, I think maybe at a work session in the future, we could spend 10 minutes saying, what kind of discretion, and then is there a communication process that needs to be followed? But as far as this one, I certainly agree with, I can't speak for the council, but my belief is that was a good decision, that the family of the children, I work with the ACO. I mean, they really appreciate being able to fund this. And then my question after this, probably, because it really isn't, what are we going to do with those funds now?
They are still committed to the ballot language because they're the nicotine funds.
But it could be not particularly childhood. It could be. Yeah, we'll need to decide, I think, where.
And we're working on that right now. This is the plan we talked about with the Summit Foundation.
My point is that discussion is not for tonight. Tonight is just to approve
Yes,
this, which seems to be a no-brainer.
yes.
So the bottom line is there will be money out of the nicotine tax fund that is not necessary for nicotine cessation education, that we have some ability to control, and you're going to present an option for using Summit Foundation that
Correct.
we could consider. And when does this start? Because you keep saying we didn't want to hold up parents from
So it's
getting their early
2025,
childhood.
26. So
No,
there's,
no, no.
yeah, there's
This decision, that the county, when does the county start paying? Because
county's been doing it.
I'm not sure I understand what the rush was, and I'm not questioning, it's fine, but.
Several things. The county was bending their own rules without this amendment. And the county is very interested, and they do have a tight timeline on the reauthorization of the strong futures going forward.
That's a vote, right?
That's a vote.
Ballot.
Yeah, that's a ballot question.
Okay.
And early childhood options is a very big part of that. And
Okay, but they had the
county
money.
wants to be able to have a complete message as they go forward.
Okay, just to beat this drum, since Summit County has been paying ECO this entire calendar year?
I'm not exactly sure when. I think it probably starts in January, even though it calls it the 2025-26 school year. I think the towns are all committed only from January to January, because we can't be committed to.
But that means that January through April money is like where?
The county's been paying that.
Are talking about our portion of the nicotine tax that we're not spending on nicotine cessation, that we thought was going to ECO, and yet the county has been paying for ECO. So where is it?
It's in our fund.
We still have it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. And one of the reasons that the county did this and made this offering is last year when we approved the banning of vapes in the county, the rest of the towns approved the banning of the, in addition to the vapes, the
Flavored nicotine.
yeah, the other item of, there was a projection that there was going to be about a 25-30% reduction in nicotine tax. That nicotine tax money funded donations to nonprofits that were centrally divided by the nicotine committee, which is what John has talked about, going to moving that from that structure directly to Summit Foundation. And there was a projection that there might be a shortfall there, and a way to fix that shortfall, since they had excess funds and strong futures, was for the county to pick up the strong futures, leaving the rest of the funding available to pick up the nonprofit piece that was associated with nicotine tax.
And
But it
if,
still comes to our decision.
Whether
Well,
we
we're-
participate in that.
Well, that goes.
Yes.
Foundation.
but, the strong futures had this fund balance because they were putting money aside to build another daycare facility if and when it was needed. But now we're hearing about projected demographic changes, and to be dead honest, it's not a good idea to go to the voters and say, we need more money.
And yet we're sitting on this huge balance.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Could I make a motion?
Yes, you may.
I move to adopt resolution 2026-13, ratifying the approval of the First Amendment to IGA for Summit County Child Care tuition assistance.
Second.
Seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The resolution is approved. The next item is Resolution 2026-14, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Keystone, Colorado, of approving vehicle purchase. Mr. Town Manager.
Okay, so aside from the e-bike that we owned, I've spent several years thinking about pieces of equipment we as a town need, which is not that much considering we outsource most of our public works. A UTV is a utility terrain vehicle, often known as a gator. You often see little side-by-sides with a small pickup bed. We looked into Kubota, Caterpillar, and John Deere, they're side-by-sides. Kubota doesn't even recommend that you use them up here, given our altitude and weather conditions. Caterpillar had a competitive, but they don't have the ability to operate the hydraulic broom or a snowblower like the John Deere does. This vehicle would be used for all sorts of things, keeping our sidewalk clear and our sidewalks as they get bigger and bigger, sweeping the community path soon. Should still be winter, darn it. But also just things like if we need to replace signs, if there is a pothole that just needs to be filled today, we can't wait for one of our contractors to get around to fixing that thing. We can throw it in the back of this drive and deal with these problems. So the proposal is for staff recommends purchase of the John Deere UTV with a 72-inch snow blower, a 66-inch hydraulic broom, and a straight plow because snow can sometimes get too much for even a snow blower up here. And it works. The total cost of this would be $54,377.73. That's what I'm asking approval of right now. However, I've discovered there might be opportunities to find more cost savings even. So this would clearly be a maximum cost. At that point, we'll look into these other opportunities. I feel it's just very useful. We have to do town things.
Was this item budgeted?
This item is, a vehicle is budgeted. So this
How
is
much?
70,000. So this is, even though we've budgeted for 70,000, my spending limit, I would come to you for something like this anyways. But my spending limit is 50,000 for budgeted items. And this is above 50,000, but I would, something like our first vehicle, certainly come to
We're going to put a little plaque on it, right?
town council.
First truck.
Questions?
Yes.
Have you done kind of an ROI? What things are we going to be able to avoid when we buy something like this?
Well, we won't have to pay someone to plow our sidewalks and pathways. And we're still going to contract out for roadways, things like that.
So that's a saving of about $2,200 a month, right?
About 2,000 a month, assuming we choose not to plow the community path, which I know Open Space and Trails is weighing in on doing something in the winter, the entirety of the path.
And would charge us?
Is it what?
And would they charge us?
No, Open Space and Trails is going to weigh in on a recommendation on what to do with our community path in the wintertime.
Oh, you mean whether to plow it or leave it? Okay, sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
So we have a cost avoidance annually of, what would you guess?
Well, so 6 months of plowing, 12,000 there. And then it's not so much a cost avoidance as a better, I'd say another 5,000 to 6,000 in
Potholes.
no, well, in potholes, signs, things like that, rather than hiring someone to come out and put up all the dog on leash signs or change out a stop sign or something. This is now something we can do ourselves. We have a way to get the signs there. And there's more than just the cost of potholes. There's the ability to expedite things like a pothole repair.
But financially, it's got about a 3-year payback is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. And I anticipate a much longer lifespan because it's not going to be, well, as we expand our sidewalks, things like that, the cost.
Price.
Yeah.
And then there'll be maintenance on top of this stuff.
Yes, but it's relatively low maintenance cost on some. This is not like buying a snowplow, a real snowplow or something like that. That, in my opinion, calls for making sure we get a maintenance contract with the.
And one stupid little last question. Is there a used market? Did we look at the used market for any of this stuff?
We talked about that and decided, given the hard operating conditions up here with our altitude and cold weather, it's better off to get something under the full warranty and feel sure that it's going to do what we need it to do.
It's budgeted, so, okay.
Where will the staff come from to operate it?
That'll be someone on staff.
But nobody knew.
Nobody knew.
And where will it be physically?
Building a shed over there.
Okay.
What, back on the parking lot, the shed?
Yeah, not the.
Is that ours?
Not the bus stop. The bus stop is ours, but the other package there is our shed.
It is ours?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Okay, Councilmember Camp.
Does this plow go all the way to the ground only, or can it leave a measure of snow?
It could leave a measure of snow, but this is a wheeled vehicle. We'll put chains on it. So it's not like.
It was just because in the Trails to Open Space, we talked about the benefits of leaving a measure of snow.
Yeah.
And I just was asking if this vehicle.
And we could, that's part of the whole hydraulic system. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
All
good.
right, other questions? Councilmember Kerr.
So we authorized the 70K in the budget, and I trust you to make the right decision for what the town needs. But I know that you also are interested in a truck. And given last council meeting where you talked about, when we were talking about the budget, you said that there are certain things that you could hold off on expending just in case things go further south. And one of the ones you specified was a vehicle. So I think you've made a case for getting this, what do we call a Gator now? However, if you still are looking at a truck, would you be looking at for the 2027 budget
Yeah,
year?
the truck is not happening this budget.
Yeah, so I want to confirm. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, any other questions?
Those are some early.
Out of curiosity, is it the spreader that you can put in a sign with?
No, the spreader is, and this is something we'll probably be able to get used, the sand and salt spreader.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Right now, we can, with our stretch of sidewalk, just as easy, take a load in the back of the vehicle and just spread it by hand.
Manually.
When we get pathways down Highway 6, it would be nice to just plow and snow blow and put a little salt or sand behind it as necessary, or the safety sand.
Does this type of vehicle also accept an attachment for a sweeper?
Yes.
We wouldn't be purchasing one initially.
No, we would be purchasing, that's a hydraulic broom.
Oh, I missed that. All right.
Yeah, that's a pretty big deal.
That's a summer thing.
Yes, yep,
So this would really be used year round.
yes.
All right. Did you want to say something?
No, I was gonna.
Can I have a motion?
Okay. I move to approve resolution 2026-14, a resolution of town council of the town of Keystone, Colorado, authorizing town staff to finalize and execute a contract for the purchase of a utility terrain vehicle.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
after you check out these cheaper options.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to get it in service, but it can weigh down
Okay. A little bit.
significance.
I think your argument for summer use is a strong one.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Resolution is approved. The next item is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Keystone, Colorado, rescheduling the June 23rd, 2026 Town Council meeting to June 30th, 2026. Mr. Town Manager.
Okay, so we have our meeting scheduled through the charter and by a resolution. Well, it calls it out to be on the second and fourth Tuesdays of every month. Well, the fourth Tuesday in June is June 23rd, where a significant number of council members and some staff are going to be in Westminster at the CML conference. June, the end of June, July meetings actually work out quite perfectly. I am absolutely terrified of the idea of having two council meetings 1 week after the other. I'm absolutely terrified. But after the June 23rd meeting, it was going to be a 3-week break until our first scheduled July meeting. So if we push the June 23rd meeting back 1 week to the 5th Tuesday of June, we'll still have 2 weeks before our July meeting. It won't impact our attendance at CML. Should be an easy one, I think, unless there's a problem I don't know about on June 30th. We're starting to push into 4th of July weekend, but it's.
Questions or comments, staff? Councilmember Kerr.
I do not wish you to be terrified. One implication is that Dave Santucci wanted to address the full town council with respect to his final proposal for the marketing strategy. He had thought he could do it on the 23rd of June. I reminded him, I let him know we weren't going to be meeting. So he'll either, we'll talk about it more, but it will be either 30 June, or I'm bringing it up right now that we might ask for a special council meeting for an hour on Zoom. If 30 June is the absolute last day of his contract. So it might not be the best, but we're going to talk to him several times between now and then. I'm just raising that as a heads up possibility.
Good point.
Yeah, okay.
See, I totally forgot about it.
It's a small thing, but I don't think it's not important enough to not do this.
Any other questions or comments? Can I have a motion?
Move to approve the resolution 2026-15, rescheduling the June 23rd of 2026 town council meeting for June 30th, 2026.
Second.
Moved to seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion is carried unanimously.
Clerk, as we get closer to that meeting, can you make it very sure that it's going out in our emails and posted on our website that June meeting will be the 30th?
Any other matters? Case planning matters. Any planning matters?
We kind of nailed them all today. So. Other than we're looking forward to you, Drew. I think he might even be on the road. So
He's still online, so that he's learned the system. You don't put a picture up there and you just dial in and do whatever you want. And you get credit.
Yep.
All right. Report of mayor and council. Did you have any other or town manager, staff, anything else?
I don't think so. Staff, anything?
Can I ask a follow-up to staff? We never talked about it at one of these meetings, but I know several of us got emails about scrap odors that are affecting West Hills folks. Have you had an opportunity to learn anything more?
They don't know why. I talked to the town manager. They'll look into it. I doubt they will find any.
County manager.
County manager. I doubt they will find. I know the mayor talked to one of the commissioners too. I think the odors probably might have something to do with how warm the winter was. That's just my speculation, but there's.
Remember, Sullivan and I had talked to former, what was he, the
Used to work at the
landfill guy, and
Yeah, it was
he said nothing had changed, that he was stymied, stumped by this, except that he said we are probably getting more than we used to.
Yeah, and they are about to close the current cell too and open a new cell.
Close
Which direction?
to West Hills, though.
No, I believe it
Okay.
has to go that way.
Okay.
But he did also mention that it was not the compost.
Yeah,
That was
And that's fair. Yeah.
yeah, I
food
would,
scraps going in the dump, but not.
I would just guess that it's because probably in the winter before you didn't really smell it because it was all frozen and there was a lot of non-frozen.
I would
garbage.
agree with that, except for the fact that the remark was that when we open our windows, as they would in the summer, we know. So,
Northwest winds, southwest winds.
okay. Somebody needs to get back to those individuals. Can we ask?
Yeah.
Maybe Aaron?
Yeah.
If you could reach out to Aaron and let him know the answer.
Yeah, we've tried, but like they said, they haven't done anything different.
I talked to Aaron after my discussion with the BOCC member as well. So basically, the answer is we don't know why. And there's not a lot we can do.
But it's important that people know that we follow through.
That's why Aaron's the one who brought it to us.
Agreed.
Along those lines, the dump that we're all reading about, the methane capture program, which could be a real, I guess that's still up to the pardon the pun.
Yeah, yes, that's the way it's written is a travesty for, it makes sense for a big city, huge dump in Denver, makes very little sense for a small rural dump. And it actually, the way it reads, my understanding is because you have to constantly be burning off the methane and we don't necessarily generate enough methane all the time to keep a constant burn going, that they would have to literally pump in gas to burn it to meet the requirements of this, or invest far more money than we could possibly afford
So that's still not law.
It's
Still being debated.
It's long.
It's law, and we're working on a carve out for the rural.
Well, that's what I mean. Rural,
Yeah,
it's not finalized yet for us, or is it?
It's not in existence. We're trying to get them to.
yeah, it will be. I don't know if it's been signed or not, but it's impossible for this to go forward. It would cause just incredible hardship all across the state in every single small community that has a landfill. It would make us shut down our landfill, and we would have to ship all of our trash probably up to Kremlin to load onto a train to run to somewhere else.
Thank you.
In Summit Daily today, there was an article on this, and they're working through the legislature now to allow state funding to be able to be granted to rural communities to meet these requirements.
But they still
State
have to
funding
do
that
it.
they don't have.
No, it's state funding out of a environmental grant environmental fund that only,
It will no longer go to towns for their,
no, it's at the state level. It's a grant, it's a pile of funds at the state level,
spent at the state level.
spent at the state level.
Okay.
And
So they move these funds over to,
But I would guess that if that passed next year, the state would readdress the entire law to exempt rural counties so that they didn't have to expend these funds.
right, yeah, environmental.
Okay,
Because there's so many other places they could borrow that to use for.
that's this one. Okay.
Anything else?
We're actually still on John.
John?
No, staff and town manager.
All right. Report America, any reports from council members?
Well, is this when we talk about coffee to council next Monday?
Yeah, that's fine.
We need, I will be out of town, so I'm unavailable. So we'll need one or two best council members or,
Well, I can do it. Missy, are you handling that now? Coffee with council, and by the look on your face, maybe not yet.
once a month, we officially, first.
Haven't yet.
So this is a matter of coordinating with Steve and putting it in several communications. And I think we will move forward with 9 o'clock on Monday.
Next Monday?
Yeah,
Steve?
yeah.
We need Maddie, maybe share all the details.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll
I just
reach out to
wondered,
Aaron and
John,
John to see if either one of them are available.
are you, Christine or no?
You could do it.
Oh, you were giving me a
Christine,
heads down.
Oh,
so,
no, I was just
In that case, we're good to go.
waiting for my turn.
Okay.
and then one last item, I guess I wanted to get approval because I would like to put it under our town council signature or whatever. Send a note to Rand Paul, who's chairman of the Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, to get our bill out of this committee to the floor.
Get moving, man.
Yeah, that's basically
Sir.
what it was. So unless there's any issues, that this is for zip code.
Yeah,
Go.
Yes.
Okay,
and I'd be happy to sign it.
okay, thank you.
So just give it to me in form and I'll sign it.
That's all I have.
Anything else? Carol, did you have anything?
I don't.
Not.
Wow. All right. And again, just a reminder, staff's going to take care of paying for the CML district meeting as well as Northwest COG's economic forum. Just let them know if you'd like to attend. If anyone is interested in becoming the mayor pro tem, send me an email. That's the easiest way. And info John on that, and then we'll make sure we have an election for that, or set up to ready to have an election for that. And I think that's all I had at this point. Boy, was I wrong.
Oh,
Wow.
Matter.
Yes.
Oh, other matters. Oh,
For other matters.
still be right.
No, quick question. Have we set a date for the first business advisory board?
Yes. But
Tuesday at 5:30. Next.
Great, okay. And I understand, didn't mention it, but do I understand correctly? We now have a code enforcement officer, AKA, what do we call it? Community
Community service.
services officer. Could you explain to us how she operates?
You know what? Kale will be here at our next meeting and I will make sure our community service operator, our officer comes in. We'll
Okay,
workshop
that'd
him.
be great because, we have a number of nuisances,
Yeah.
ordinances and stuff that we passed with an eye to an eventual. So I'd like to know how it actually works if you give them a heads
Yeah,
up.
I'll make sure that that's part of our police chief's presentation next.
I would assume that if there's ordinance violations, it would be contact the town staff, probably manager or the deputy, and then you would work in a CSO dispatched.
Well, that's kind of what I was, so you don't have to go to the police to get this to happen. If it's civil, they go to you. Okay, perfect.
And he'll be driving. He'll just be around town too. Identifying dumpsters that are overflowing, things.
Speaking of which,
Dog's not on a leash.
how's our bear enforcement or have we had any bear issues this year yet?
No, we
Wonderful and or weird,
haven't, and it's very weird. And
because the big
it
commercial places have not done anything yet, right?
Yeah, and our state grant is still,
Ready to be handed out.
yes.
Okay,
But that's actually one of the first things we're going to unleash this CSO on is just making sure our commercial dumpsters are.
and making sure they understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would ask you also insure all of our dumpsters, not just the commercial ones.
Yeah.
Well, I say that only because it's such constant.
Oh, yeah, the commercial ones are,
Yeah.
the biggest offenders no longer here, so.
Yep. And when I say commercial, I really am implying HOAs. Pretty much a dumpster is a commercial dumpster. For all intents and purposes.
All right. Any other matters? Hearing none, we've completed the agenda. Boy, was I wrong. The meeting adjourned.